The Olympic wrestler wiped his filthy hands across Bruce Lee's black jacket and smirked, waiting for anger. Bruce didn't move. He just looked at the stain once, and in that second, the whole room changed. The private training hall in Los Angeles had been loud a moment earlier, gloves thudding into pads, shoes squeaking across the wood floor, coaches arguing over footwork near the ring, reporters from 2 local papers hanging by the wall, hoping to get a quote from Bruce before he left. Now the noise collapsed into a thin, tense silence that seemed to stretch from one end of the room to the other. The man who had done it stood half a head taller than almost everyone nearby and much wider through the shoulders. Leon Varga, 30 years old, Olympic silver medalist in Greco-Roman wrestling, 230 pounds of thick neck, shaved jaw, and the kind of confidence that came from a lifetime of making other men feel small with his hands. He had arrived 20 minutes earlier with 2 other wrestlers, laughing too loudly, already acting as if the room belonged to him. At first, it had only been words. So that's him? That's Bruce Lee? That little guy? The comments had floated across the room while Bruce finished speaking with a young fighter near the heavy bags. Most people pretended not to hear. A few did hear and turned away. One assistant coach tried to steer Leon toward the coffee table near the entrance, but Leon ignored him, eyes fixed on Bruce the way a man looks at something he has already decided to break. Bruce had come to observe a mixed combat exhibition, nothing more. He was still in dark trousers and that fitted black jacket, not dressed to perform, not there to prove anything. He had spoken quietly to a few students, corrected a stance, smiled once at a kid who nearly dropped his gloves, and kept mostly to himself. That calm had irritated Leon from the second he walked in, because Leon was used to entering a room and bending it. He enjoyed the shift, the glances, the moving bodies, the instinctive widening of space around him. But Bruce did not widen anything. He did not step aside. He did not rush over to greet the Olympic medalist. He did not admire him. He barely acknowledged him. For Leon, that was insult number 1. Insult number 2 came when one of the younger wrestlers beside him muttered, low but not low enough, "Coach said don't start anything." Leon had laughed and slapped the back of the boy's neck hard enough to jolt him forward. "I'm not starting anything," he said. "I'm just trying to figure out why actors dress like fighters now." A few people heard that. A few smiled nervously. Nobody answered. Then Leon started moving. Not directly at first. He drifted toward the ring, cut between 2 trainees, bumped a stool with his thigh, and sent it skidding. He reached the towel station, wiped his hands through chalk and sweat after one of his men had finished grip work, and then turned. Bruce was 3 steps away, speaking to an elderly promoter. Bruce said something soft. The promoter nodded. Leon closed the distance without asking permission from anyone. 1 step. 2. Then he dragged those dirty palms slowly across the front of Bruce's jacket from shoulder to chest, like a man cleaning himself on a curtain. The promoter recoiled. A student near the ropes cursed under his breath. Somebody at the back actually gasped. Leon smiled. "Sorry," he said, not sounding sorry at all. "Didn't see you there." Bruce lowered his eyes to the chalk gray smear on the black fabric. When he lifted them again, his face had not changed. No outrage, no embarrassment, no rush to wipe it off. That unnerved people more than if he had shouted. Leon tilted his head. "What? No movie line, no little kung fu speech." Bruce's voice came out level. "You put your hands on my jacket." Leon spread his arms as if the point were ridiculous. And you did it on purpose. That should have ended it." Everyone in the room felt it. Bruce had named the act cleanly, without heat, in front of witnesses. It gave Leon a chance to laugh it off and back away. He did the opposite. Leon stepped closer until his chest was nearly touching Bruce's shoulder. "You know what your problem is?" he said. "People in this city keep talking about you like you're dangerous. But I've been watching for 5 minutes. All I see is a skinny guy in a nice jacket making people nervous because he moves his hands fast." A young student named Eric took 2 quick steps forward. "Back off." Leon didn't even look at him. He flicked his forearm backward, caught Eric high in the chest, and shoved him hard enough to drive him into the ring apron. The ropes snapped and trembled. Chairs scraped. 2 men moved at once, then stopped when Bruce raised one hand without turning his head. Eric pushed off the apron, angry and red-faced, but Bruce spoke before he could rush back in. "Stay where you are. The student froze. Leon grinned wider. That your boy? You keeping him on a leash? Bruce still hadn't moved his feet. You just shoved someone for no reason. He stepped into my space. This room isn't yours. Now several people were fully watching, not pretending anymore. A photographer near the wall quietly lifted his camera, then lowered it again when he realized no one wanted that sound right now. Leon noticed the attention and grew stronger from it. Men like him always did. He pointed at Bruce's chest, almost touching him again. No, but this room knows what real fighting looks like. Real fighting is clinch pressure. Real fighting is balance. Real fighting is grabbing a man and putting him where you want him, not posing for magazines, not dancing in front of students. Bruce answered, Then why are you performing? That landed. A few faces changed. One of Leon's own teammates looked down. Leon's smile vanished for the first time. What did you say? Bruce repeated it exactly. Why are you performing? Leon moved fast then, faster than a man his size should have. He caught Bruce's jacket at the lapel with one hand and bunched the cloth tight, pulling Bruce half a step toward him. Several people shouted at once, Leon, let go! Don't do that! The promoter stumbled backward into a chair. One of the assistant coaches started around the outside of the ring to get a better angle in case he had to intervene. Eric tried to rush in again and was blocked by another student grabbing him around the waist. Bruce's body rocked with the pull and then settled. That was the detail people noticed later. He did not stumble the way everyone expected. Leon had seized him with an Olympic-level grip and yanked hard, but Bruce settled under the force as if the floor had taken hold of him. Leon noticed it too. His fingers tightened. You think I'm performing? Leon said. I can throw you on your head before anyone here takes a breath. Bruce looked down at the fist twisted in his jacket. Then do it. The room went colder. Leon blinked. He had expected protest, not permission. Bruce went on, voice quiet enough that everyone had to strain to catch it. You came here wanting everyone to see you overpower a smaller man. You've insulted people who didn't touch you. You shoved a student. Now you're grabbing my clothes in front of a room full of witnesses. Leon's jaw flexed. You think I care about witnesses? I think you care very much. That hit harder than the last line. Leon's ears reddened. His second hand came up and struck Bruce in the shoulder with a sharp open shove, trying to jolt him backward, maybe to force a stumble, maybe to start the throw he had been threatening. Bruce gave ground exactly one step and no more. A chair behind him tipped. The wall seemed to squeeze inward. Someone near the entrance muttered, This is bad. And another voice answered, No, now it's worse. Because Leon had crossed the line from insult to contact and everyone knew it. But he still wasn't done. He drove forward again, trying to herd Bruce toward the corner between the ring steps and the wall, boxing him into a narrow strip of floor. Bruce shifted, but Leon cut him off. One big forearm barred the path. The other hand still had the jacket. The chalk stain on the black cloth looked ugly under the overhead lights. You don't walk away from me now, Leon said. Bruce glanced once to the side. No panic, no rush, just space calculation. Leon mistook that glance for uncertainty and pressed harder. Good. Now you're thinking. Now you understand. There's no room here, no audience trick, no camera angle, no place to run. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to admit all that Kung Fu mystique is for children, and then maybe I let go of the jacket. One of the reporters finally found his voice. Leon, take your hands off him. Leon barked without turning around. Stay out of it. Then he leaned in so close his breath nearly touched Bruce's face. Or, Leon said, you can prove me wrong. Bruce's eyes held on him for a long second. Then Bruce slowly lifted one hand and placed 2 fingers on Leon's wrist. Let go, he said. Leon laughed when Bruce's fingers touched his wrist, not because it was funny, because he thought it was small. That was the mistake. Bruce didn't jerk, yank, or twist dramatically. His hand made one short movement, almost invisible from more than a few feet away. 2 fingers pressed, his thumb shifted, and suddenly Leon's grip loosened without his permission. Not fully. Just enough to break the certainty in it, enough to make the Olympic wrestler's knuckles flex open for a fraction of a second. Bruce slipped the jacket free. Leon stared at his own hand. The room saw it. A whisper moved through the people closest to the ring. Not loud, not excited, more shocked than anything else. Leon had been gripping hard, Everyone had seen the cloth bunched in his fist. Everyone had expected Bruce to pull away or struggle or at least brace. Instead, the jacket had simply come out. Leon's face darkened. "What did you do?" Bruce smoothed the front of the stained jacket once. "I told you to let go." Leon took a hard step forward and shoved Bruce in the chest with both hands. This time the contact was violent enough to draw a burst of noise from the whole room. Bruce slid back half a pace, his heel clipping the leg of a folding chair. The chair snapped sideways and crashed into another. Two men near the wall jumped out of the way. Eric came around the ring apron again, furious. But one of the assistant coaches caught him by the arm and barked, "No, not yet." Leon was breathing harder now, not from effort but from anger. The kind that comes when a man feels himself slipping in front of an audience. "You touch my hand again," he said. "I break yours." Bruce answered, "Then use your own first." That did it. Leon lunged to seize him again, this time not by the jacket but by the arm and shoulder together, the opening grip for a hard control tie. It was fast and ugly and real. A few women near the entrance backed up immediately. One reporter pressed himself flat against the wall. Somebody near the windows knocked over a cup, coffee splashing across the floorboards. Leon's hand shot toward Bruce's shoulder. Bruce was gone. Not far, not with some theatrical leap. He simply wasn't where the grab landed. He turned off the line by inches, and Leon's fingers closed on air. His momentum carried him one step too deep. Bruce's palm touched the back of Leon's forearm for a split second and guided it past him. Leon had to plant his foot hard to keep from stumbling into the ring steps. A few people gasped. Leon spun around, embarrassed now, and that embarrassment made him dangerous. He swung his arm wide to clear space and nearly clipped one of his own teammates in the mouth. The teammate recoiled and shouted, "Watch it!" Leon shoved him aside without even looking. "Then move." Now the crowd was no longer just watching, it was compressing. A circle had formed around the strip of open floor beside the ring. Coaches, wrestlers, karate men, local fighters, a couple of promoters, students pinned 3 deep behind them. Nobody wanted to miss what happened next, and nobody wanted to be the fool who stepped between them at the wrong moment. Bruce noticed the circle before Leon did. That mattered, because Bruce understood the danger had changed. This was no longer just a rude man in a room. Now it was pressure from every side, reduced space, blocked exits, witnesses close enough to get hit if Leon lost control. The room had become a trap, and Leon had created it so fast he didn't even realize he was standing inside it too. Leon came in again, slower this time, both hands raised, palms opening and closing, wrestling fingers, testing range, not a strike, a capture. "You don't get to slip away and make me look stupid," he said. Bruce's voice stayed flat. "You're doing that yourself." Leon bared his teeth. "Try saying that when I'm holding you." He snapped forward with a collar tie, left hand high, right arm reaching for Bruce's elbow to drag him into a clinch. Bruce knocked the first hand aside with a short slap so sharp it cracked through the room. Leon immediately grabbed again. Bruce's other hand cut underneath, jamming the wrist, turning the line, giving himself half a step. Leon switched levels and drove his shoulder in, trying to crowd him backward by force. Bodies collided, not cleanly, not like a ring exchange, more like a fast, ugly street knot of pressure and redirection. Leon's shoulder slammed into Bruce's upper chest. Bruce pivoted. Leon's hip struck the edge of a chair. The chair folded and shot out from under a spectator, who cursed and stumbled backward into 2 others. Someone shouted, "Clear the floor!" Nobody did. Leon reached behind Bruce's neck. Bruce chopped down on the forearm, turned, and Leon's hand slid off the back of his shoulder instead of locking. Leon answered with raw force, driving a forearm across Bruce's path and pinning him for a second against the ring apron. That got a reaction. The ropes bowed. Eric surged again. A wrestling coach blocked him with both hands and yelled, "Stay out of it unless you want 10 more bodies in there." Leon leaned in, forearm pressing, face close and ugly with effort. "Where's the magic now?" Bruce didn't answer. He hit the forearm once. Not a punch. Not even what most people in the room would have called a strike. A short downward shock into the inside of Leon's arm, somewhere near the elbow seam. Leon's expression flickered. Just a blink. But the pressure changed. Bruce felt it instantly and turned out from under, rotating his shoulder free while Leon's arm lost structure for a fraction of a second. Bruce stepped away. Leon grabbed at him again and missed again. Now the silence in the room was different. Earlier it had been tension. Now it carried disbelief. They were watching a much bigger man attack over and over and come away with less control each time. Not because he lacked power. Everyone could see the power. They could hear it in the thuds, the scraping shoes, the slapped hands, the way chairs moved when he crashed into them. But Bruce kept making that power land somewhere useless, and that humiliated Leon more than any insult could have. One of the reporters whispered, "He can't hold him." Leon heard that. He turned toward the voice with murder in his eyes. "You want to try?" The reporter stepped back into the wall. Bruce said, "Look at you." Leon snapped back toward him. "What?" "You came here to prove you were stronger than me." Bruce's breathing was steady. "Now you are threatening reporters because you can't touch me cleanly." A few people in the circle reacted to that one. One of Leon's teammates muttered, "He should walk away." The other answered, "He won't." No, he wouldn't. Because the room had him now. The medal, the size, the name. The wrestler who pushed students and smeared dirt on another man's clothes. He had to dominate Bruce or leave carrying the weight of all these eyes. So he did what angry, proud men always do when skill starts slipping away from them. He escalated. Leon stepped back once, raised both hands, and said loudly, "Fine, no more games." He looked around the room, making sure everyone heard him. "You all want to see something real? I'll give you something real. No more slipping, no more little hand tricks. Let's settle it." Nobody answered. Leon jabbed a finger toward the cleared strip of floor. "You and me, right here, one exchange. I get one real hold. If you get out, I walk. If you don't, everyone in this room sees what size and real competition do to fantasy." That landed hard because it sounded reasonable. Brutal, but reasonable. One exchange, one hold, one chance. Even some of the people who disliked Leon felt the shape of the trap in it. Bruce was silent. Leon took that silence for hesitation and pressed in immediately. "That's what I thought," he said, voice rising. "All that talk, all that mystique, and when a real athlete stands in front of you, suddenly you need room, angles, excuses." Bruce stepped forward. Leon stopped talking. Bruce looked at the open patch of floor, then at Leon, then at the circle of faces around them. "When I say stop," Bruce said, "you stop." Leon gave a short, contemptuous laugh. "That's your condition?" "Yes." "That's it?" "That is enough." Leon spread his arms to the crowd, as if the whole thing were already won. "You hear that?" He finally said yes. Bruce's eyes never left him. "One exchange," Bruce said. "And after that, you will understand why I told you to let go." The circle opened by half a step. Not much, just enough to give the moment a shape. Leon rolled his shoulders once, flexed his neck, and spat to the side like a man about to go to work. He was smiling again now, but it was different from before. Less mockery, more hunger. He believed he had finally pushed Bruce into the kind of contest he understood. One hold, one collision, one moment of contact where size would erase everything else. Bruce stood opposite him with the stained jacket still on. That alone irritated Leon. "You keeping it on?" Leon said. "Good. Easier for me to grab." Bruce didn't answer. A coach near the ropes raised one hand and called out, "One exchange, that's all." Nobody appointed him referee. It was just something frightened people do when they want chaos to pretend it still has rules. Leon dipped his weight. Anyone who knew wrestling saw it immediately. The level change. The loaded legs. The small shift forward through the balls of the feet. He wasn't planning a wild grab anymore. He was going to crash through Bruce with proper pressure, clamp the upper body, lock the torso, and break his base before Bruce even knew where the floor had gone. One of the local fighters whispered, "He's going full body." Another whispered back, "If he gets hands on him clean, that's it." Leon heard neither. His eyes were locked on Bruce's chest, not the face, not the hands, the chest. That was where he expected to own the line. Bruce's hands hung relaxed at his sides. That made several people in the room nervous again. It looked too open, too still, too generous. Leon took one testing step. Bruce didn't move. Leon took another. Still nothing. Then Leon exploded. He came in low and hard, left arm shooting high, right arm wrapping for the body, shoulder driving forward with all the violence of a man who had spent his life folding other men backward through space. The floor thudded under his feet. Someone in the circle shouted. Another person flinched and covered their mouth. Bruce moved on the last possible beat, not backward. That was the first shock. He stepped slightly in, not away, turning just enough that Leon's main force line lost the center of him by inches. Bruce's left forearm cut across the attacking arm. His right hand struck short and flat into the side of Leon's neck, just below the jaw. Not a wild blow, not a haymaker, just a brutally precise interruption. Leon's body reacted before his pride did. His head twitched. His grip missed the clean lock by a fraction. Bruce pivoted. Now, Leon's shoulder drove past the line he needed, and all that beautiful Olympic force began to slide into emptiness. He tried to correct instantly, dragging his left arm across Bruce's back, trying to salvage the hold, but Bruce's right hand had already dropped. Two knuckles hammered into the inside of Leon's upper arm. A dead, shocking hit. Then, Bruce's other hand snapped into the wrist, folding the angle wrong. Leon's fingers opened, not fully, just enough. But enough was all Bruce ever seemed to need. The room heard three sounds in quick succession: a sharp thud, a shoe scraping hard across wood, and Leon grunting like someone had punched the air out of him. 5 seconds, maybe 6. Bruce had not thrown a combination anyone there could admire in slow motion. It was uglier than that, tighter, meaner. A sequence of interruptions packed so close together that the bigger man's attack came apart from the inside before it ever became a hold. Leon staggered one step past Bruce and turned, furious, trying to launch again on instinct alone. Bruce was already there. His left hand pinned Leon's wrist down and out. His right forearm rose under Leon's chin, not enough to crush, just enough to break posture. Then, Bruce stepped to the outside and touched him once more, low and brutal, into the front of the thigh near the hip seam. Leon froze. It happened so suddenly that for a moment people didn't understand what they were seeing. They expected a throw. They expected a slam. They expected Bruce to keep moving. Instead, the huge wrestler stopped in the middle of the floor as if something invisible had locked around his frame. His right leg stiffened. His left shoulder hung wrong. One arm was half raised but no longer with purpose. His mouth opened. No sound came out for a full second. Bruce released him and stepped back. Leon stayed where he was. The silence that followed was worse than any cheer could have been. A second earlier, he had been all momentum, all mass, all certainty. Now he looked like a machine whose controls had been stripped out while it was still running. He tried to lift his right arm higher and couldn't. Tried to straighten his neck and winced. His right leg took a half step that never finished. He wasn't unconscious. That made it more humiliating. He was fully awake, fully aware, and suddenly unable to trust his own body. "What?" Leon said, but the word came out thin. Bruce watched him, breathing evenly. Leon tried again to raise both hands into some kind of stance. The left came up. The right only twitched. His shoulder spasmed. Panic touched his face for the first time that day. "What did you do?" Bruce said. "You kept offering me targets." Leon lunged anyway, or tried to. It wasn't a real shot now, more like pride throwing itself forward after control had already left. His foot planted badly, his balance broke. Bruce intercepted him again with almost insulting ease, one palm on the chest, one short strike to the same damaged line in the shoulder-neck connection, and Leon's legs locked under him. This time, the wrestler's face went pale. The room finally understood. Not because Bruce had knocked him out. He hadn't. Not because Leon was weak. He wasn't. But because everyone could see a terrifying fact with their own eyes. Bruce had touched him a handful of times, and a man built to dominate with his body no longer knew how to use it. Someone at the back whispered, "He's frozen." Another voice answered, "No, he's scared." That was true too. Leon's eyes were no longer angry. They were searching, testing his own arm, his own shoulder, his own leg, looking for the system he had trusted since childhood, and finding delay where there should have been violence, pain where there should have been drive, hesitation where there should have been instinct. Bruce took one step closer. Leon flinched, not a huge movement, not dramatic, just an involuntary recoil of the head and chest from a smaller man who had done something his size could not explain. The humiliation of that tiny flinch hit the room like a slap. One of Leon's teammates started forward. "Enough." Bruce lifted his hand without looking at him. The teammates stopped. Bruce kept his eyes on Leon. You wanted one exchange. Leon swallowed. His throat worked visibly under the lights. Bruce went on, still calm, still almost quiet. You got your hold. You got your pressure. You came in with everything you trusted. Leon's jaw moved as if he wanted to answer back, but he couldn't find a sentence big enough to cover what had just happened. Bruce leaned slightly closer, enough for everyone in the front of the circle to hear him. And in less than 10 seconds, he said, you forgot how to come forward. Nobody spoke. Leon tried one last time to reclaim something. He drew in a breath, straightened as much as his neck allowed, and took a step toward Bruce. His right leg buckled, not fully, just enough to betray him. A few people looked away for him then, which is a deeper shame than laughter. Laughter says you were beaten. Pity says everyone saw too much. Leon caught himself before falling, but the save only made it clearer how gone his certainty was. He looked down at his own leg, then at his own hand, opening and closing the fingers as if they belonged to somebody else. Bruce reached up and brushed chalk dust from his stained jacket. That simple movement finished the job more completely than any speech. Leon saw it. Saw the same jacket he had dirtied now being calmly cleaned while he stood in front of the whole room, half locked, half numb, and entirely broken in spirit. He backed up once, then again. Nobody blocked him. Nobody needed to. His teammates came to either side of him, not proudly, not like cornermen after a war, but carefully, like men approaching a friend who had just stepped too close to something hot and did not want it noticed. Leon shrugged one of them off, then immediately had to grab the other's forearm when his balance slipped a second time. That, more than anything, ended him. He looked at Bruce one last time. There was no insult left in his face, only shock, and underneath it, the terrible private knowledge that his body had obeyed another man's timing more completely than it had obeyed his own strength. Then he turned and pushed through the circle. People moved out of his way now for a different reason than before, not because he owned the room, because the room was done with him. The assistant coach exhaled first, a long, shaky breath that seemed to release everybody else with it. Noise returned in fragments, chairs being reset, someone muttering Jesus under his breath, one reporter frantically asking another if he had caught every second, Eric staring at Bruce like he had just watched a ghost teach anatomy. Bruce adjusted the cuff of his jacket. The promoter approached cautiously, as though sudden movements might disturb whatever force still hung in the air. Bruce glanced at him. The man stopped. He had probably intended to ask what exactly he had done. So had everyone else. Bruce saved him the trouble. He was strong, Bruce said. He relied on it too early. Then he walked toward the door. No victory pose, no lecture, no smile for the room. Just that same quiet economy he had arrived with, leaving behind a crowd that would spend years arguing over what they had seen, and an Olympic wrestler who would never again laugh quite so quickly at a smaller man in a dark jacket. If this story held you to the end, subscribe, like the video, and tell me in the comments who you think made the bigger mistake, the man who grabbed first or the man who mistook calm for weakness.